12 years ago, when I was 11 or so, I stayed with my mom at her new house. My parents had just gotten divorced. My sister Beth and I would rotate between staying with Dad and Mom every 2 weeks. I remember this one time Beth was sick with the flu, and so our parents had agreed to let her stay at Dad's this time, even though his turn had ended. Just like that, I was all alone in my room in this new house I barely knew. It was a single-story thing on the outskirts of town. After Mom went to bed, I had the whole house to myself. I kinda liked it. It was exciting. I remember sneaking out of bed to steal chocolate popsicles from the freezer. Something I got caught with later. Good times. Then one day, I had awoken in the middle of the night to what I thought was a bright light. But when I opened my eyes, I saw nothing but my dimly lit bedroom. I remember I really had to go pee, so I snuck out of bed and was about to open the door when I heard a noise from the other side. It was almost between a whisper and breathing, like someone had just asked, "Huh?" in a hushed voice from the other side. I held my ear closer to the door and strained to listen, but heard nothing. I didn't want to open that door. Every cell in my body screamed not to open it, but I really had to go. As I slowly pushed it open and cautiously peered into the living room as to not make a sound, I saw someone. Just there, sitting on the couch, was a dark figure, the size and shape of an adult man. He wasn't moving, just staying put and looking away from me out of the large glass door to the porch. I stared at the back of his head for what felt like ages. I was terrified to even make a sound. I still really had to go pee, but I would have to walk past him to get to the toilet. All I could do was slowly close the door to my bedroom as to not make a sound and hide under the covers, hoping he wouldn't see me. Then I woke up the next morning. There was no sign of anyone had been there. I looked at the couch where he had been and confirmed there was no pillows or anything that could have made that shape and tricked my eyes in the dark. There really had been a figure sitting on our couch. I went to my mom and told her what happened that morning, bursting into tears as I did, the fears of the previous night finally flowing out. She consoled me and told me it must have been a bad dream. She told me there would have been some sign of breaking and entering if someone had been in the house. She showed me that all the windows were closed and the doors locked, and I truly began to question if it was really a dream. It had been so real, though. When I told Beth the next morning, she didn't really believe me. She told me I was just making things up to scare her. Well, I did do that sometimes. But this really happened, I assured her. Nothing I said could convince her I wasn't lying. Nothing except, perhaps, the photograph of a sleeping 11-year-old girl I now held in my shaking hand. I thought about the bright light that had woken me up all those years ago, and I realized the picture had been taken with the help of a flash. I looked up to Catherine, who carried a grim expression as I told her the details of the figure in our living room. "Oh shit," Ethan muttered as I finished. "Did Mike give you any more of those pictures?" he asked Catherine. She shook her head. "Mike only gave me this one, because it was of you, Lisa." The three of us discussed investigating the lake house ourselves to look for other pictures of the sleeping children, but Catherine was vehemently against the idea. "Do you want to end up like him?" She did make a good point. In the end, we decided to go to the police station, and while there, gave a statement about Mike's last words to Catherine before his disappearance, leaving the Polaroid with them. I had made a copy on my phone anyways. I returned home that evening feeling unwell. I looked at the picture of the Polaroid on my phone some more and teared up a bit. Thought back to how every door in the house had been locked. Had Mom taken this picture? Why would she? I preferred the thought to someone else taking it at least. Mom. I felt a lump in my throat forming. My mom had died a few years back, and truth be told, I had never fully recovered from it. The doctor said it was sepsis, but it was never clear how she got infected in the first place. She had been too young, and now I was sick in my own way. I was always closer to my mom than my dad. The vacations I spent at her house were some of my fondest memories. Oh, that house. Beth had sold it to that nice couple who came from the next town over. I wonder if they would let me take a look around. The next day I looked up the property listing online. To my surprise, it said the owner was Susan, my mother's name. Later that day, after some deliberation, I decided to take my bike over and go see it for myself. I got Ethan to come along. 2 of us had been spending more time together since Mike Henderson's disappearance. It was nice, like old times. I even asked Catherine to come along, but she was busy with her job. What was it again? Something to do with animals, anyway. "Do you really think they'll let us in?" he asked. "Well, I'm mostly hoping they recognize me from the sale. We had a surprising amount of trouble finding the place considering how often I'd been there. It wasn't part of the normal suburbs. It was tucked away into a rural corner. Its location is part of what made it so appealing to me as a kid. There were woods all around for me and Beth to play in. When I got there, I thought I had the wrong house for a moment. The lawn was overgrown and the paint was chipped. The live oak that had hung over the house had coated it in layers of leaves. It's like nobody had been living there for years." "Is this the place?" asked Ethan. I did recognize the tree and the stone tiles. This definitely was my mother's house. I walked across the weathered stone path and knocked on the door. Ethan hovered behind me anxiously. No answer. I opened my phone and sent Beth a text message. "Hey, who were those 2 you sold Mom's house to again?" I wasn't expecting to get a reply right away, so I tried turning the handle, but it was locked. I told Ethan I was going to head in through the back window. "Whoa, since when were we doing a B&E? I gestured to the house. "Do you really think whoever owns this place cares what happens to it?" I said. Ethan shrugged and I walked around the fence. The gate opened and I was able to enter the backyard, where one of the windows were shattered, just like I remembered. Mom had complained about it while she was in the hospital. A bird had flown through it, and we hadn't bothered to get it fixed before selling the house. We just wanted it off our hands so we could grieve. As I carefully maneuvered in, making sure not to cut myself on the few shards still hanging from the frame, I noticed the inside. It was exactly how we had left it. A little dustier though, and clearly some birds had made it in through the window. As my leg made it in, I felt another wave of nausea and lightheadedness hit me. It was strong enough to where I had to sit down. "Are you okay?" asked Ethan from the other side of the pane. "Yeah, just give me a sec." I slid the door open for him and dropped onto the floor to recover. Ethan slid down next to me. "Geez, this sickness is really hitting you hard today, huh?" while offering me a drink from his bottle of water. I gladly grabbed it and took a few long swigs. "I'm going to take a look around if you don't mind. Just give me a holler if you need anything," he said. I thanked him and watched him disappear into what used to be my room. I looked up at the ceiling. Weathered, cracked, clear signs of water damage. It was strange. Cracks almost looked like lettering. You know that feeling that you recognize something, but the more you look at it, the less sense it makes? It was like that. The house had an open layout. One big living room with a hallway to the one side that led to my room and the study, and my mom's room on the other side. There was a fireplace next to the sliding glass door with firewood still laying beside it. I got up and went into the kitchen. There was bird poop on the counter, and the wooden beam next to the island had started to rot from water damage. I opened the fridge and quickly regretted the choice, as it was filled with old rot. It didn't smell, to my surprise. It was too old for that. It had already been reduced to dirt, waste, and crusted puddles. As I closed the door, I heard Ethan shout, "Hey Lisa, you're gonna want to come see this. Just promise me you won't freak out." I followed him into my old room and was surprised at some of the things in there. I was getting that feeling from the cracks in the ceiling again. Muted recognition. I distinctly remember taking those Disney posters down in a bad mood after a boy I liked called me childish. On the bed I saw one of my old stuffed animals, Mr. Muffins, who I had lost when I was 13 while out on a camping trip. I didn't remember ever finding him, yet there he was. The more I looked, the more anachronistic the place got. It was my laptop that I had until I would turn 15, and my parents got me a Mac for my birthday. There was homework from various grades on my desk drawers, and a diary that I had taken with me when I moved out. It was like something had collected random details about my life and arranged them into a sort of display in my room. Then I saw what Ethan had wanted to show me. There was a rectangular piece of carpet that was cut free from the rest, and when he lifted it, he showed me a trap door underneath. He flung it open and revealed a circular hole, just big enough for someone to climb into. I couldn't see inside, it was too dark. He looked at me and I just stared, bewildered. I got a message back from my sister at that moment. I opened my messages app and squinted. Beth had written, "What are you talking about? I never sold the house. It went to Grandma Julie, remember?" I stared at it in confusion. My sister was not one for pranks, so if she didn't sell the house, why did I distinctly remember the couple who bought it? What's more, Grandma Julie was already dead when our mom passed. I was about to call her and ask what the hell she meant when Ethan gestured for me to be quiet. He looked up, and I strained to hear what he was hearing. That's when I heard it too. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, and heading for this room. I considered fleeing out the window again, but there was no way to get out there without passing through the open living room. Ethan illuminated the dark hole and revealed a path. Heading down was a thin wooden ladder. I heard the door from the hallway outside my room creak open. Ethan gestured frantically to me, but I hesitated. I seriously wondered what was worse, being found by whoever was in this old house or descending into the darkness beneath. "Lisa," Ethan said in a sharp whisper, "we have to go." I shook my head, not wanting to face what was down there. The footsteps were just outside the door to my room now. I stood there frozen for a moment until Ethan grabbed my shoulders and I remembered how to use my legs. I flew down the ladder as Ethan followed and crossed the trapdoor. "Ethan, the carpet," I whispered. He hadn't put it back. "Should I?" Ethan was interrupted by the door to the room opening above us. We sat in the dark room with our flashlights off, listening for what felt like an eternity. The footsteps had stopped exactly above us. The descent had made me feel an overwhelming nausea, and I was trying not to throw up as much as I was trying not to make a sound. I wondered if whoever was above us was also just standing there, listening. I could hear Ethan's panicked breathing mixed with my own. It was wet in that hole, drops of water falling from the ceiling as we waited, unsure of what would happen. We strained to hear any sounds from above us for what felt like an eternity. Any moment, whoever was up there could fling open the door, and that'd be it. I'd been standing still there for who knows how long when Ethan sneezed, jolting me and making my phone drop to the ground with an echoing splash into a puddle beneath. I looked up in terror, waiting for the door to open, but it didn't. After another minute of nothing, we decided to slowly open the trap door. There was nobody there. We hadn't heard the footsteps leaving. The moment the tension dropped, I felt the need to throw up come over me. I slid down and let it out onto the dark floor beneath me. It was bad looking, dark, curdled. It smelled rotten almost. By some miracle, I had managed to not do it on my phone, which was still down there. Ethan held my hair back and gave me a sympathetic look. "Are you okay? Do you want to go back?" I shook my head. As much as I hated this dark hole, I couldn't turn back now. I had to know. Ethan gave me some tissues and I grabbed my phone, which still worked. I turned my own flashlight on and looked around. It was a crawl space underneath the house. It smelled old and musty. There were cobwebs and puddles of water on the floor, with ducks shaking around wooden support beams. "I'll go ahead," Ethan said, something I was grateful for, as he would be taking the brunt of the cobwebs. We had to crouch just to be able to make it through. The eerie darkness of those tunnels was unsettling. I kept expecting us to turn a corner and see our pursuer in there, but there were only more ducks. After what felt like too many corners and additional tunnels, we reached a small area where we could stand. There was a metal hatch embedded in the wall, round and heavy, and painted an earthly green. Ethan pulled it open with some effort and held it up. "Want to have a look?" he offered. The truth was I really didn't, but I knew it would haunt me forever either way. I ducked down and went in, shining my flashlight at what was inside the hole. It was a bedroom. There were canned goods in a little drawer, a dirty, sweat-stained mattress on an old frame, and a couple appliances I didn't recognize. I took a picture of the room with my phone when I noticed. The moment I did, my heart sank into my stomach. The ceiling had 2 laundry lines, and from them were hanging Polaroid pictures of a little girl. They were pictures of me, Dozens of them, playing in a forest, talking to Beth. Many were taken inside of my mom's house. I almost screamed, but no sound came out as I clambered out in a hurry. Ethan could see the panic in my eyes. What was it? What was in there? Pictures, Ethan. So many pictures of me. He looked at me with a faint expression. I continued. I think someone had been living down there, watching me, taking pictures of me. I felt a lump in my throat forming. We have to go to the police. Yeah, Ethan responded. This is some sick shit. Are you all right? I was about to respond when we heard a splash from deeper in the crawl space. Ethan and I looked at each other and booked it. Behind us, we could hear more splashes in the wet floor of the crawl space following us, getting closer. We reached a T-crossing and stopped. Which way had we come from? We decided to pick a direction and go. It was hard to maintain speed while crouching, and I got a face full of cobwebs more than once. The ladder, Ethan shouted, and I could see it too. I clambered up and Ethan helped by pushing me, before following and climbing out. Ethan was halfway up the ladder when he stopped. Ah! My leg! Ethan shouted. What? I stammered. Something grabbed my leg, Lisa. Ethan began to slide back down into the hole. I grabbed onto Ethan and started pulling. Whoever or whatever grabbed him had some crazy strength, and I could barely keep him from being dragged down. Then all at once it let go and I fell backwards as Ethan climbed out and shut the trapdoor with fury. After that, he grabbed the bedpost. Come on, help me move it. I complied and we slid the bed over the trapdoor, shutting it off completely. Everything that happened after was a blur. I think we left through the sliding glass door and booked it out of there on our bikes. We went to the police, told them about the hole and showed them pictures of the room. I could tell the author was incredulous at first, but his look changed when I told him about the Polaroids, and he assured me they would go take a look tomorrow. Our case got handed over to one Detective Michaels, who gave me his number and told me to call if anything happened. When I got home that evening, I was so tired. I didn't even want to eat dinner. I just collapsed onto the couch. The day's events kept replaying in my mind, over and over. It made me sick thinking about it. I closed my eyes and drifted to sleep. How long had someone been living down there?